Rhett!
Jeff!
How's it going, man?
It's going great.
So for those who don't know, Rhett is one of my co-hosts over on Talking Heads. Every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific for the latest in beer and tech news, which you should totally check out if you haven't already. But we're doing something a little bit different in the studio today. Today, we have access to this. This is the Pimax 5K Plus, and it's a brand new headset that was kickstarted a couple years ago. I think they started. We finally have the retail version.
Nice.
And I could not be more excited. So today we are going to do a little bit of performance testing, mainly focusing on can you actually play 5K VR? Because that's been the big question of this headset since it was announced. So let's get to it. Welcome back to Craft Computing, everyone. As always, I'm Jeff, and you can't see Rhett right now because he's actually holding the camera. Anyway, the whole reason we're here today is to take a look at the brand new Pimax 5K Plus. Now, I've been kind of anticipating this coming out for almost 2 years. This is a pretty successful Kickstarter. They're finally launching the retail products. Now, this is aimed at people who already own an HTC Vive, and they're looking to upgrade just the headset to get a much higher fidelity, higher resolution, and higher field of view headset. Now, myself, I already own an HTC Vive and have for about the past 2 years. In fact, here in my office, I've got lighthouses permanently mounted up in the corners. So I'm what you would call a VR enthusiast. So how does the Pimax 5K Plus differ from the HTC Vive? Well, lucky for you, I happen to have one right here. The HTC Vive has dual AMOLED displays with a resolution of 1080 by 1200 per eye, giving you an effective resolution of about 2160 by 1200. Although there's some overlap in there, and that's really not what your eye sees. And the common complaint on this is twofold. Number one, screen door effect. That is the grid that you see the space in between the pixels of the HTC Vive. And it can be kind of distracting and make text and fine detail objects kind of fuzzy in this thing. The second is field of view, as this only has a 110-degree field of view. The Pimax aims to solve both of those problems. Number one, the resolution. This is a much higher resolution headset. There are dual 2560 by 1440 resolution displays in here at a total effective resolution of 5120 by 1440 if my math is correct, which I hope it is. Now, these are not OLED displays. These are what they call CLPL displays, or customized low persistence LCD displays. So they are still LCD, but they're kind of a nice middle ground between OLED at that flickering display and LCDs where it's a constant image and you get a lot of motion blur. The other nice thing about this is you notice how much wider this headset is. This has an effective field of view of 200 degrees. Now, the reason I say this is aimed at replacing the HTC Vive for current owners, it's actually compatible with your HTC Vive trackers and controllers. So if you already have lighthouses and you already have the Vive controllers, you can plug this right in and start gaming. Quick spoiler alert before we get started. I actually opened the Pimax 5K last night just to kind of get a baseline for performance, because that was one of my main concerns coming into this was how much power are you actually going to need to drive 5K in VR? And I'm really sorry to say, it's a lot. So we're going to skip the 1070 Ti altogether because it struggled pretty mightily in most of the games that I tested. We're going to jump straight to my Threadripper 1900X workstation with a 1080 Ti installed just to eliminate any potential bottlenecks, although this might still have some. So here I am inside of the HTC Vive. We're going to start out with a classic, the lab. So this is a classic intro to VR. You get a bow, you get an arrow, you're standing on top of a castle. Just don't let the guys get over to that wall right there. Boom, headshot. Boom. No, you don't. Yeah! So what I can tell you about this experience so far is, as someone who's played a lot of VR, the screen door, while it's not the most present thing in the world in this game, it is pretty noticeable. The resolution, it's like playing on a 1024 by 768 screen if you're used to playing something on 1080. The resolution is a pretty hard thing to get used to. For a first-gen VR experience, remember this was the first VR headset released to retail. The controls are excellent, and the controls are obviously going to carry over into the Pimax. So the Pimax headset has a pretty distinct advantage getting into the market because they're banking off HTC already narrowing down what the controls need to be. Overall comfort of this headset, I like it. This headset has been through a lot. I ran a VR arcade for about 6 months. This headset has probably had close to I don't know, 500 people over the course of time wear it. It's cracked up here on the top, just barely, but it's there. But this has been dropped, it's been kicked, it's been pulled off of someone's head. The controllers have been dropped. The only thing that I've had to do is reseat a ribbon cable in one of these controllers. But the headset still works perfectly like it did the day I got it out of the box 2 years ago.
It's so intuitive, you know, like just visually, it's really good. You know, I can tell obviously that, you know, there's kind of some artifacts here and there that remind me that I'm just playing a game, but I'm excited to see just comparatively, like I'm not saying that the displays in the Vive are bad here, because they're good enough that you're completely consumed if you're a consumer like I am, where you play VR once a year.
All right, so I'm just gonna head straight back into Longbow. So we are on the Pimax 5K Plus, if you couldn't tell by the fancy little shark head that I've got going on here. And we're just gonna play another round. And I'm not going to explain too much because I've already played this and I've already got my impressions, and I don't want to give anything away to Rhett that might alter his judgment later on. Headshot. Oh man, this is beautiful. Rhett, you have no idea what you're getting into, my friend. So Rhett's getting all kitted up here. Now Rhett, when I say an increase in resolution from 1080 by 1200 to 2160 by 14 or 2560 by 1440, and an increase in FOV from 110 to 200 degrees. What does that put into your head?
I don't know. I'm like, okay, literally in my mind, it's going to be twice as good. It's going to be twice as clear. But what does that mean? I don't know.
I think that's a fair assessment.
I think on it, like, if I had to say something, that's what I say. But trying to imagine what that's going to be like, I can't do it, I guess. So.
All right.
We're gonna do this.
Well, let's get kitted up.
All right, here we go. I'm gonna. Oh my God! Whoa! I was talking about in the last one just artifacts that make it look like that remind you that you're in VR, and obviously, like, yeah, we got some stylized graphics here, but this is incredible. Well, first of all, yeah, like less pixelated, just straight up. Like I'm looking at this tree. There's like texture on this tree that I never noticed before. Like that's the first thing I notice is it looks like there is intentional texture placed there. And I know that it's meant to be stylized, look a little cartoony. So there's a jar up here that's got like burning oil in it, and then eventually a knockover on these dudes. And there's a shine on it that I've never seen. You can actually, rather than just kind of looking like a jar, it actually looks like it has way more depth. Everything has a little bit more definition. You know, before you look at the TNT and you're like, that says TNT, I get it, I shoot it, it blows up. But everything is just more crisp, more clear. I mean, everything. Even the definition on this gentleman's flag over here. You can see it when he stops waving it. Before, it looks like, you know, the aperture symbol from Portal or whatever. I thought that was a circle when I was playing the Vive. Now, I'm noticing, like, look, maybe this is just me, because I've got such a gigantic noggin, but I'm noticing a couple little things with kind of like the placement of the headset against my eyes. Like, if it's not quite centered right, it's a little less clear. It's just like all of the objects are just a lot more defined. I'm like, good God, look at this tree. I can't get over that. Like, there's literal texture there. Looks like wood or something. I don't know. It's hard to... When I hold it just right, like, oh my God. Like, everything is just better. It's more crisp. It's more defined. There's more shape to objects. And again, I'm going to come over to this tree, because this tree is like the perfect example of this. There's texture on this tree that you can't see on the Vive. Yeah, absolutely. So far, my first impressions are strong. I think I should have spent a little bit more time making sure this was properly adjusted to my face, but other than that, the definition is a very clear difference. I'm not going to say it's night and day, but it's very distinct. It's hard to say for sure, but everything is more shapely, it's more definitive, it's more crisp.
Four, 3, 2, 5, 7.
Yes! Oh my God, this is hard. You didn't tell me how hard this was. Oh, you're good at this game. I was like, he's so bad at this earlier. Like, see this dude? He's dead for sure. Oh, I was talking too big. This guy's dead though. This guy's dead now. There we go. Do you think I'm like Robin Hood? God, it's gone now. Look at this. You didn't get a look at this before, but the tree looks amazing. Also, I'm just too good at killing stick figure men.
Like 4th time playing this in the last 2 days. Definitely a better experience than it is on just the Vive headset. I want that balloon! No! Dang it. Yeah, the fit on the Pimax is definitely looser and more finicky than the HTC. It doesn't fit quite as snug on my nose. It seems to want to move around a lot more, even when the headset is fitting right. In the HTC, there's a real sweet spot, like right in the center of the lens, that if you put your eyes, it's in focus. It's just, everything just kind of pops. And usually it's a very small sweet spot. In the Pimax, it seems to be even smaller, where I have to be fitting absolutely perfectly for this to be just razor sharp across the image. And with the headset not fitting quite as well as the other headsets that I have, it's kind of a distraction, because half the time I seem to be fighting the fit of the headset to get that perfect image rather than just enjoying the experience. Jeez. Yes. Oh, we got me. Boom, 2 for 1. Oh, guy with a shotgun. I don't like guys with shotguns. You moved. Jerk. Uh-oh. 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 Ah!
Oh, he got me. That was sad.
So another thing that I notice, especially here in this stark white background here, is there's a little bit of a roundness to the display, where as I turn my head, it's almost like looking at a curved display where the image curves on you. It's got this convex-like appearance. The other thing that I notice is right here in the center between my eyes is there's a little bit of a dark spot. And especially as the headset moves, the brightness varies quite a bit on the display. So I don't know if that's a quality control thing. I don't know if that's just a result of the headset and the lens bending the light as much as it is, but that's certainly something I don't notice on the Vive. Boom, boom. Oh, this is so much nicer. Wow. Like the other games, it's like, wow, these look a lot better. This plays a lot better. Of course, it's another gun shooting game, so Rhett's gonna suck at it.
Hey, you wanna play some duck hunt? I'll take you all the way to the wreck, son. Nobody's watching you do trick shots. It's no wonder I lost. I was busy trying to just look good for the camera.
Boom! Headshot!
No. Okay, you. Oh! Oh, this is way harder than I remember. It is way more crisp looking. That is for certain. Oh, what up? Oh, you wanna trip at me? Come on, come on.
No, give me the bow. Give me the bow. Ah! Oh, this is a good experience. Come on. Ah! Yeah, that's right, buddy. No, give me the heart. There it is.
Oh, nice.
Oof. So, I don't know about you. I have my impressions. I'm sure you have your impressions. Let's just start with what we liked about the headset.
Absolutely.
I really appreciated the increased field of view and the increased, I guess you could say, fidelity or definition in the image.
Absolutely, yeah. You can tell, especially in the first back-to-back that we ran in Longbow, you know, I talked about it a lot while we were playing, but that just the increased definition of the texture, even on that tree that's right there, it's like you can just
keep going
see
back
it.
to the tree.
I'm never going away from it. No, but seriously, yeah. And then the increased field of view is something that was really interesting, and I think we talked about this a little bit off the air, but you know, with the Vive headset, it's almost like, not like you got binoculars or whatever, maybe like goggles or something like that. You don't really notice it all that much when you're playing, but then when you get this bad boy on, all of a sudden it's a little bit more like a motorcycle helmet, where it's like you're definitely aware that you've got something, but it's not impeding your peripherals. And in fact, you know, it's like the field of view is definitely significantly noticeable.
Yeah, exactly. I felt the Pimax was slightly dimmer than the HTC Vive. But I didn't notice any motion blur or anything like that,
right,
like I feared about with the LCD screen versus the OLED screen. That didn't seem to hamper it one bit. Like I said, maybe a little less saturation in the color, maybe a little less brightness or vividness, but the image itself was fantastic. I love the image quality inside the Pimax.
Yeah, I thought so too.
So negatives on the headset. We both had comments about the fit of the headset.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if it's up here. You know, it's definitely a different shape, maybe a little less balanced than the Vive might be. The Vive, you definitely have got a little bit more give because you got those thick cushions around your eyes and things like that. But and I think the straps are just more elastic as well, so you get a snugger fit, and it seems to really kind of sit more down around the base, the back of your skull there. The Vive, anyways. And then here with the Pimax, it really just kept kind of pulling this way on me, and I noticed that I really had to keep bringing it up and even pulling it away from my face. The straps were really tight, but there just wasn't that level of fit that you got with the Vive.
I think it was actually in the nose. I don't think there's as much nose or bridge support in the Pimax, and so there's nothing to hold the headset in place. Whereas with the HTC Vive, there's a solid nose bridge piece in there, and it's not uncomfortable, but it sits on there and it sits nice and firm. With the Pimax, it seemed it did want to fall forward. And I also mentioned during the review process that the sweet spot in the center of the lens, it's much more finicky on the Pimax than it is on the Vive.
Yeah.
If the Vive shifts on you, you don't notice it quite as much. You can just kind of readjust it a slight
it's a little bit
amount.
more forgiving in that way.
Right.
Yeah.
With the Pimax, when it shifted down, it completely obstructs your view.
Yeah.
It really does
and
lower the experience.
That was the first thing I noticed when I put it on, was that when I was in the sweet spot, picture was crystal clear. It was beautiful. Yep. But I think I spent that whole first session, I kept kind of tugging it away because I couldn't even see the numbers, actually. I was like, what? Wait a minute, what? And I kept having to readjust it.
That's your excuse for that one.
Well, yeah, I'm full of excuses, but I'm sticking by that one.
So one thing I didn't demonstrate for you on the Pimax was this Pimax actually comes with what's called a Leap Motion controller. I don't know if you're familiar with them at all.
I'm not.
Leap Motion, they've been around for a number of years. They are 3D hand tracking technology. So the two cameras that are on the front of that aren't actually for your vision. They're for mapping your hands. Now, I tried this last night. And Pimax has a number of experiences that you can download. They have like this cube juggling thing. They've got they call it Cat Explorer, where you can like pet a virtual cat and like look at it. It's pretty cool. There was only one experience that worked though in the headset, and that was the virtual cat. All of the other experiences were broken in some measure that prevented me from playing with them.
That's the only one I care about. Why did you just leave this out of our test?
You know, we'll do that one in a minute. But they had a weightless one, which I was really looking forward to. It's like you're an astronaut in a spacesuit, and you can push yourself around a space station. That was completely broken. The hand tracking, the hands were like locked in one position, and no matter where I was standing and they were locked like on the floor. So it wasn't like if I stand in one spot it works. It literally just didn't work. The cube one had my head where it wouldn't center my head in real space. No matter where I started up the headset, I couldn't calibrate where the floor was. And so it felt like I was laying on the ground playing with cubes.
Okay.
And so I think Leap Motion integrated into a headset has a lot of potential. Like I said, the cat one worked pretty well. Okay. But I think we're still just very, very early on. There's no software to back up the experience. And we said this from the very beginning with VR. You have to have the software there with the hardware. It doesn't matter how good the hardware is. The question on everyone's mind as we went through the benchmarks, and the reason we spent so much time playing VR today, besides just playing VR, was for the performance aspect of it. So none of us really mentioned the performance during the gameplay, although I did once, and we tried to benchmark Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, and as beautiful as that game was, it was unplayable in this headset. But I said, I feel like this is running at about 30 FPS, and I nailed it.
You did.
It was running at
that
28,
was kind of impressive,
28 FPS. Now, the problem with a number of the games was a number of games just aren't playable. The APIs haven't been updated to play on the Pimax yet. We tried benchmarking Pavlov. We tried benchmarking Hellblade. We tried benchmarking Fallout 4. We tried benchmarking... what was the other one?
Well, we did Project Cars.
Project Cars was broken. Most of the high-performance games that we tried to play were broken in some measure. Most of them was the field of view was broken.
Yep.
So it has to calculate where the center of your vision was. Unfortunately, those games are hard-coded to work with the HTC Vive. And so what it did was it separated your center of vision. So if I'm looking out into space, I have double vision and instant headache. And it wasn't even close. It was like one boat is here and another boat is here.
Oh, yeah. There was no, okay. I mean, we joked, just get out the eye patch and we'll make this work.
I want to play Hellblade. I'll just close my left eye and I'll go. So that was kind of disappointing. And again, software needs to catch up. Please excuse this interruption. Quick little editorial note here. The day after I did all of the performance testing for the Pimax headset, Pimax did update their PiPlay software and seems to have corrected all of the FOV centering issues that I encountered. So if I go over here to library, you can see all of my installed games. All of the issues that I had with FOV centering seem to be resolved if I launch the games from the PiPlay software. So Hellblade, Pavlov, Fallout 4, Project Cars 2, and a couple others are now fully playable. I did not, however, have time to do full performance testing on these games, and will be following up with a new video here in the next couple of weeks because I'm just as curious as you are. Now, back to the show. But the games that did worked. They were beautiful, but to varying levels of performance. Gorn actually averaged 88 FPS, which is pretty darn perfect. 0.1% low of 32, though. So, not great, although in-game I really didn't notice any major stuttering.
Yeah.
It stuttered a couple times. I noticed a couple of dropped frames inside of that, but that one wasn't experience-breaking, I would say. Superhot is not the most demanding title in the world. In fact, it's one game that'll run on almost anything pretty darn well. It only managed 82 FPS on average, and it also had a 0.1% low of 25. That one I was kind of disappointed in performance, and in the game I didn't seem to notice it in real time, but again, when you're playing those games, it's more about the immersion than the experience.
Right.
However, looking back, I do remember noticing quite a few little glitches in the performance here and there. Noticeable slowdowns and speed backups. The 1% low was at 44, so it's not like we had just a couple of dropped frames. We had significant gaps in the game which had slowed down. Longbow, one of the only other games that managed to average 90 FPS. In fact, it averaged 90.6 FPS and a 0.1% low of only 44. So that one, totally playable, totally locked 90 FPS with very, very little downtime.
Absolutely. Thanks to the beautiful trees.
That's right. Oh, beautiful trees. So, it's looking so good at 90 FPS.
The best.
The best. The two higher performance games that we have struggled pretty mightily. Now, I already mentioned Hellblade, which I didn't actually get to benchmark, but again, it was running at 28, and it was a pretty hard 28.
Yeah.
Arizona Sunshine. Arizona Sunshine is known as being a fairly demanding game. We ran this with no super sampling at all. All of these games were pretty much at max performance level, but no super sampling. Arizona Sunshine hit 52 FPS. Now, 0.1% low of only 37, so it was a smooth experience as far as it was consistent. There was no noticeable speed up, slow down. Unfortunately, it was only sitting there right at 52, and that was across 3 different benchmark runs. So definitely not the best, smoothest experience in VR. Even though it was consistent frame rate, consistent frame times, which is really what we like to see, we just want to see more of it. H3VR, hot dogs, horseshoes, and hand grenades is the other one that I really like to benchmark. And even in the more basic environment that we were in, but it also averaged 57 FPS with a 0.1% low of 42. So again, consistent, but not as high as we would like to see it. And again, we're talking about a VR headset powered by a 1080 Ti. To see a headset struggling like this on such a high-performance graphics card is a little disappointing in my mind. Rhett, are you familiar with the price of the Pimax 5K?
I'm not.
Okay, so I want to get your honest reaction to this headset. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about the construction of the headset first to kind of set up where the pricing is at. To me, this is made with substandard materials.
I can agree with that.
Yeah.
Just playing with it, it looks aesthetically very nice. In fact, when I was looking at it from across the room earlier, especially when I got here, I made some jokes about how it looks like a Cyber Ninja mask. and I stand by that. It really does. It's aesthetically pleasing.
It's a very good-looking piece of hardware.
But after the third or fourth round of some game with it, I was like, it feels kind of... I'm not going to say cheap.
Right. My first unboxing experience with this, I actually used the words cheap when I unboxed it. I feel these are subpar materials. I'm not going to go as low as like cell phone VR headsets that you buy for like $15, but this is nowhere close to the Oculus Rift. This is nowhere close to the Vive as far as tidiness, quality construction. It's not there.
Yeah.
This doesn't feel like a direct competitor as far as a construction or material standpoint to either of those headsets. It certainly feels that way as far as the optical performance. So once the headset's on, and if you can get it fitting right, I think it certainly holds up, and in fact far surpasses the performance of what I got on the Oculus or the HTC. But it comes down to dollars and cents.
Okay.
$6.99.
Really?
Headset only, $6.99.
Wow.
That's a hard sell for me. It's a really hard sell. As beautiful as this headset is, wearing it, I would really like to see, number one, better quality construction first and foremost for a product that I'm spending $700 on.
Right. Because already it's being beaten price, isn't it? I mean, that's just...
The entire HTC Vive set costs $599. The entire Oculus Rift setup for controllers and sensors and the headset itself is $399 for the Oculus and $599 for the Rift. This is headset only at $699, and that's not including the add-on of the Leap Motion controller.
I'm surprised by that.
Yeah.
You know, and you haven't told me the price all day. You wanted it to be a surprise. Yep. Part of me thought it was going to be more expensive, but there's also the part of me after handling it, all that type of stuff, I thought it was going to be kind of cheap. And I thought, hey, maybe we're getting some high-tech display technology for an affordable price.
Maybe at $399 for what I'm handling, maybe at $399 headset only, and then I buy my own controllers or bring my own package with it. I think the 5K makes a lot more sense. The main problem I'm having, again, I keep coming back to construction, but the main problem I'm having is I'm already having to spend $700 on a graphics card, and I've heard some early reports of even the 2080 Ti's struggling to hit 90 FPS in a lot of these games, in very similar games like Arizona Sunshine and the like.
Well, and what strikes me too is that you're just getting the headset, right? This was pretty easy to get going because you already had the room set up for your Vive.
I already own an HTC Vive.
Right. We got the paddles, we got the room sensors, all this type of stuff. If you don't have that, you're paying $699 for just a headset.
Yeah.
And then it's not even good to go out the box.
Yeah, I'm looking $1,100 probably all in, because the controllers are $150 a piece, and I think the lighthouses are $100 a piece as well. So we're looking an additional, what is my math, $450, $500 to get completely set up with everything I need with the same stuff that I can get in the HTC Vive for $599.
Yeah.
And I said the same thing about the Vive Pro. I don't see it. Great experience, don't get me wrong. If you want the best VR fidelity, this is it.
Yeah.
And besides the 8K Pimax as well. But if you want the best looking VR headset, this is totally it. If that's your only objective, spend the money. Because it's the same argument we make with high-end graphics cards. Yeah, the 2080 Ti is overpriced, but it's the best thing out there. If you want the best thing out there, spend the money.
Yeah. You know, the other thing about this that we hadn't really touched on, maybe briefly, was that there seemed to be some tracking issues with it.
We did experience that.
And I don't know if this is just throwing off a little bit of interference, especially with the paddles. And I think it's, we experienced it a little bit in Longbow.
When I was playing Longbow, when I would have one controller out here and I pulled the string back, if I pulled it near the headset, I would lose tracking on this controller entirely. Yeah. And the bow would like flip around and do some really weird things.
That's why I lost.
Right. So I would have to bring the controller back out and have it reestablished with the sensor, with the lighthouse.
You'd almost have to bring it out, give it a little bit of a wiggle or something just to like...
Right. So I'm not sure what's going on with this headset, but whenever a controller came close and held there for a second, it would lose all tracking of that controller. It's an anomaly that we experienced only with the Pimax, because we started with the HTC Vive today playing that exact same game, doing those exact same motions, no problems at all. I really enjoyed, as a VR enthusiast, the Pimax 5K Plus. I think it is a great experience, and again, if you were looking for the best of VR fidelity and playability, if you're looking to really expand what you can see in VR and really increase your immersion, and as I've said about VR before, that's what it's all about. It's all about the immersion. This takes VR immersion to another level. But at the same time, I'm a little bit stuck on that $699 price point. I feel it's too much. And again, software is going to catch up. I'm not holding any software bugs against the Pimax today, because we saw the same bugs with Windows Mixed Reality when it was released. We saw the same bugs with Oculus. We're comparing this headset against what is a 2-year-old market, almost 3 years old now with the HTC Vive. So against a well-established ecosystem. Now, the Pimax is taking some advantages of that HTC ecosystem, using the same controllers, using the same tracking system, but it's not quite refined yet. And again, I'm not holding that against it. What I am holding against it, if I'm paying $699 for a product, I expect it to be a little bit better put together. The Leap motion controller that's on the front of it is held in with a USB-C port. There's nothing actually holding this onto there. There's little nubs in the plastic that should be there, but they're not magnets, they're not screws. It literally just sits in there and wiggles. And one good hit from a controller coming up, or the odd fist moving in the wrong direction, and you might break that port. The plastic feels, if you watch car reviews and they get into a car and they complain about the hard plastic interior, that's what this feels like compared to the HTC Vive or the Oculus Rift, or even some of the Windows Mixed Reality headsets. Some of those are pretty darn premium materials. This is a step below all of those construction-wise.
It's hard to say. If money's not an issue for you.
If money's not an issue and you're looking for the absolute best VR experience, this is totally it. It's just going to cost you. Thank you guys so much for watching this one. I know it was a little bit of a different episode, but if you like this one, make sure to click like and make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Make sure to stay tuned to the channel next week, because Rhett and I will be live in Vegas covering CES 2019. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching this one, and we will see you in the next video. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Whoa. We can't start yet.
Yeah, the reason I'm here is, well.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Does it even need to be said?
My bad.
And what do we got here?
This is Confluence Brewing Company Copperidge. It's their 5th anniversary porter, 2017 edition. This is a cold brewed, dark roasted Central Costa Rican coffee porter aged in bourbon barrels.
That sounds right up my alley.
Quick shout out to Skaal over on the Discord who sent these over. So, Skaal, we love you, bro.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
All right, let's get
I
this
think
in.
this is the second of Skaal's beers I've got to enjoy.
I think it is. Yeah, you opened the first one. Here you go, buddy.
Thank you.
Whoops. Stop doing flips, you asshole!
You're alive.
Oh, hey, look at that. Did I beat your score? Yep, beat your score. I'm the best. You heard it here, folks.
What did you get? Look at this at the board. Because I remember what I got.
I got
at the other.
Oh, over here.
I got a 1610.
Oh my god, I got a 2010.
20? What?
Yeah, you suck. Yeah, absolutely. 2010. Oh, No! No! Don't worry, I got this.
Little problem with your equipment there, son?
You know it. Oh, I hit one!
Nobody's watching you do trick shots. It's no wonder I lost. I was busy trying to just look good for the camera.
Boom! Headshot!
No. Camera was looking away during that one. Doesn't
Liar.
count.
Liar. Oh, I missed him. Oh.